Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Ali Diaz, and in this class, we are looking at the research question, to what extent can investment and innovation in Lake Nona, Florida, transform the issue of urban sprawl over the next 25 years? I have looked at this research question through a scientific lens. I have organized my line of reasoning by starting at a broader scope and closing in on a more individual level. First, I start talking about medical city, then I move in talking about living communities, and then talk more on the individual scale about residents. My four sources are Orlando's Newest Attraction is Medical by Jonathan Vatner, How to Build a Great American City by Jennifer Reingold, the official Lake Nona website that is owned by the Tavistock Group, and my fourth source is Lake Nona Opening Doors to a Healthy Smart Home by Nassim Miller. My first two sources build on each other because my first source talks about the different facilities and organizations that are part of Medical City. My second source talks about the justification for why these facilities are here. And with my two sources, I provide a more thorough argument. With my third source, I talk about the gigabit fiber antennae system that is provided to Lake Nona residents on the Lake Nona, that's stated on the Lake Nona website. And that connects over to my fourth source, which talks about the Witt House. I talk about the Witt House in regards to their Care Predict technology, which allows family members to keep track of their elderly family members and keep track of their health. I use these two sources together to explain how Lake Nona allows their residents to keep everything that they need right here in the community. And my fourth source connects right back to my first source because we have our education, our work, and our care all centralized here in Lake Nona. Now let's go into detail. With my first source, Orlando's Newest Attraction is Medical by Jonathan Vatner. This source is credible because it passes the Raven test. I picked this source because it details Medical City. I talk about the different facilities that are available in Medical City, such as Nemours and the VA hospital. This source represents the outer circle of my argument, which is a broad scope. This source contains no false logic. However, this source does not detail any of the research being done at these medical facilities. My second source is How to Build a Great American City by Jennifer Reingold. This source is credible because it also passes the Raven test. I chose this source because it talks about how there are new jobs created by the new facilities in Medical City. As you can see here, the jobs centralize people coming into Lake Nona because we have our work and our education here. This also represents the outer circle because it's also a wide scope. This contains no false logic. However, this source does not contain any counterclaims. My third source is the Lake Nona website owned by the Tavistock Group. This source is credible because it also passes the Raven test. I use this source to talk about the internet connectivity that allows residents to work from home. This represents the inner circle, which is the living communities. This source contains no false logic, however, it doesn't give many specifics about what goes on in the living communities. My fourth and final source is Lake Nona Opening Doors to a Healthy Smart Home by Nassim Miller. This source is credible because it passes the Raven test as well. I chose this source because it talks about the Witt House. And it talks about the innovations that are also there as well, including UV lights that sanitize counters, and also the Care Predict technology that allows family members to keep track of the health of their elderly family members. This source contains no false logic, but it does not contain any data about these different innovations. And this represents the center circle, which is individuals. And these are all my citations. And returning back to the research question, to what extent can investment and innovation in Lake Nona, Florida transform the issue of urban sprawl over the next 25 years? By consulting my resources, I have come to the conclusion that the innovations in Lake Nona are reducing the issue of urban sprawl by centralizing all necessary resources within the community. What questions do you have?